Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about the Magic the Gathering Marvel Spider-Man pre-release event and what's happening. All right, so what happened, right? So I went. I was able to go. I missed Edge of Eternities. I had something going on in the beginning of August. But I've been making the pre-releases, and I have an FLGS near me that has what's called a super saver. So used to be I would go on a Friday, you could still go on a Friday, but you pay full price. But if you go on the super saver day, you get about a 25% to maybe 30% discount, which is really nice. They give Prive support. They run the event very like the whole weekend is filled with these events. There's plenty. It's not difficult to get in and play. You can reliably get a seat. You do have to pre-order. And but like I remember times when you would go and like we're with like Lorcana. If you go to a Lorcana pre-release, right? You would go and there'd be like four people, and then you'd have to sit and wonder if they're going to fire off, if they would have enough people to actually fire off the tournament. All weekend, my FLGSs are able to fire off pre-releases for new sets of Magic the Gathering reliably all the time now, right? And now the other thing is on these weekends I remember times where it was just packed to the brim and you couldn't even get in the door, right? That's not the case, but they are reliably populated, right? And they can fill all week long, which is really nice and impressive. Okay, so here's what I thought was interesting. So same thing this week. We went. There I would say that like uh, I think they had like 10 or 12 people, and you need eight people to fire. And this was the second event they were running on Saturday, and it was full, right? Like it was more than enough to fire off, more than enough people to count as a full on functioning tournament, right? And I'm pretty sure they were probably full on Sunday when they did their first event on Sunday. So this was the Magic the Gathering Marvel's Spider-Man pre-release. It was functioning. It was there. They had the product. It was run extremely smoothly. This shots where I go, they are like they have this down to a science, right? They know what they're doing. They're almost never short on. I've never seen them short of the pre-release packs. Everything that they're supposed to have, they have. And the prize support, they always have what they need for prize support. They have judges there. It was extremely good. What's also interesting is what was the response of the community? Well, there's two responses. And this is fascinating. I think this happens somewhat on Dungeons and Dragons, but you really see this with Magic the Gathering. So if you talk to any of the old heads, right, anybody who's been playing for a long time, they're like, these we really hate these Universe Beyond sets. And you're like, well, these aren't really Universe Beyond sets anymore. This is a pre-release, right? Like, this is going directly into standard. This is not, this isn't a secret layer with a special IP that's being introduced. This isn't a small set. This isn't a Universe Beyond. This is a standard release, right? And they're like, yeah, we hate this. And the reason why is we want the Magic the Gathering universe to be the Magic the Gathering universe, but now it's SpongeBob and Spider-Man and Final Fantasy. And what kind of world is that? It's not really a world. It's just a bunch of, logo stickers, right, for products. And my answer back is no, it's the D&D multiverse. Everything you're seeing here, like the reason that, Spider-Man is in Magic the Gathering is Magic the Gathering is canon to Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is canon to Magic the Gathering. This is simply part of the Dungeons and Dragons multiverse. And the reason you're seeing Spider-Man come in is that multiverse has already been connected on the Lego side in April of 2024, right? Like, you just don't understand D&D canon. And their answer back is like, oh, I hate that, right? I don't want Magic the Gathering to simply be an extension of D&D canon. Well, guess what? You lost. Like, doesn't care. It doesn't matter what you care. It doesn't matter what you think. Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter how you complain. You lost, right? Like that, and that's the reality of it. And I think that's really what's interesting is, basically. And I think these old heads, on the Magic the Gathering side are like, well, if you don't do what we want, your product's going to dry up, and flesh and blood is going to be the new thing. And Hasbro is laughing at this point. They don't need to worry about any of these upstarts, right? They don't need to worry about flesh and blood. They don't need to worry about competitors. These products simply don't work, right? And the reality is the old heads are like, oh, we hate this. We really want you to just do another Magic the Gathering Lorwyn set or some other, weird made up fantasy name and attach more, bad fantasy to to Magic's world, air quotes. Yeah, Dominaria, whatever, right? And I think and us on the Dungeons and Dragons side, we laugh. We're like, come on, we got we got Forgotten Realms, we got Greyhawk, we got Eberron, we have real worlds. Like, nobody cares about Ravnica or any of this other stuff, right? Like, the only time we care is when you guys connect it to D&D, right? Like, Magic's fantasy world is not actually real lore or anything of value. Like, just give up and realize that the Magic the Gathering world is simply the D&D multiverse, right? Like, and so there is this interesting tension, right? But the other thing is, these old heads are like, oh, well, if you don't do what we want, you're not going to be able to sell these products. And that's because, and the reason why Hasbro is not worried is this is increasingly like completely ridiculous, right? Lord of the Rings blew off the shelves. Final Fantasy broke every single record, blew off the shelves. Spider-Man, they're having no problem selling it. This stuff is, it's banging, right? Like, and they don't need, like, there's now, and what is interesting is who's buying this stuff. If it's not the old heads, if it's not the people who care the most about the Magic the Gathering world, who's buying it? Well, I think there's investors buying it. There's new players coming in and buying it. But this stuff is having no trouble getting sold. No trouble, right? So that's my report on the Magic the Gathering Marvel's Spider-Man pre-release. I was able to attend. I got my cards. I had a great time. And I think where we've landed is Magic the Gathering is, its entire world is simply the D&D multiverse. That's what we need to understand. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. Get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.